Do you know what the most popular Leatherman of all time is? It's the Leatherman Wave, and not the newer version, the original. Released back in 1998, that thing changed the multi-tool game completely. Before the Wave, most multi-tools were solid, sure, but they didn't really flow. The Wave was the first to combine smart tool layout, outside accessible blades, and a design that just made sense. And it wasn't just popular for a year or two, it became the standard. If someone said Leatherman in the early 2000s, they almost always meant the Wave. So today, I want to talk about why the 1998 Leatherman Wave was such a big deal, what made it revolutionary at the time, and why it's still respected even now, over 2 decades later. Let's get into it. At first glance, the original Wave looks pretty basic by today's standards, but back in 1998, it was ahead of everything. One of the biggest innovations was the outside accessible blades. You didn't have to open up the pliers to get to the knife. That was huge. It seems obvious now, but at that time, most multi-tools made you unfold the whole thing just to use the blades. The Wave let you get to what you needed fast, whether it was the plain edge or the serrated blade. The locking mechanism was another game changer. Every tool on the outside of the Wave locked into place, which made it way safer and way more usable. You weren't stuck with tools flopping around or folding back on your fingers. That added a level of confidence when you were actually using the tool for real work. Now let's talk about what it actually had, because for its time, the Wave was stacked. 2 blades, 1 plain edge and 1 serrated, both on the outside and both lockable. It has a dual-sided file with a diamond-coated surface on one side and standard metal file on the other. Super useful for smoothing rough edges, sharpening things, and even light metal work. A real-world saw that actually worked, not just a decorative piece. This saw has been known to cut down small branches. Now we'll work our way to the inside and the scissors. Small and spring-loaded and surprisingly effective, commonly known to be almost as good as Swiss Army knife scissors. A surprisingly effective can and bottle opener. This has opened way more cans of tuna than I can remember. Surprisingly, it came with 4 different flathead screwdrivers, including this one that can double as a pry bar. 1 tiny flathead, a medium, and a bigger medium, for lack of a better term, plus 1 Phillips screwdriver and the keychain loop. Lastly, we'll get to the needle nose pliers. Here, the regular pliers and the wire cutters. Note that these are not replaceable wire cutters. All of this packed into a stainless steel body that was rugged but sleek. It folded up into a very pocketable size, and the fit and finish were way ahead of what most competitors were offering at the time. Another underrated feature is the one-handed blade access. You could open your knife with your thumb one-handed, no need to stop what you were doing. Again, that's common now, but back then it was a big deal. And by the way, this 25-year-old Wave is still stiff to open the knives with one hand, but possible. The Wave basically combined the functionality of a toolbox with the form factor of a pocket knife, and did it in a way that felt good to use. Nothing felt like a compromise. The reason the Wave became so legendary wasn't just the feature set, it was the reliability. You could actually depend on it, whether you were out hiking, working in the trades, fixing gear, or just dealing with daily stuff. The Wave held up. And it looked good too. It had the clean industrial feel, nothing flashy, just stainless steel built to be used, not shown off. That's probably why it became the default multi-tool for so many people for many years. Military, first responders, outdoor folks, DIYers, it crossed all kinds of lines. Even today, you still see original Waves out in the wild, being used, not collected. My dad's the perfect example. He purchased this Wave in 1998 and has carried it ever since. And that's the best kind of praise a tool can get. Leatherman eventually released the Wave Plus, which added replaceable wire cutters and some refinements, including some different implements on the inside, but the DNA is the same. The Wave laid the foundation. It influenced how multi-tools were designed going into the next millennia. It showed that a multi-tool didn't have to be awkward or overbuilt to be useful. It could be intuitive, compact, and still handle serious work. If you've got one of these old Waves from 1998, still kicking, hang on to it. It's not just a piece of gear, it's a piece of multi-tool history and what I call a heritage tool. It's something that will be passed down through the generations. And if you ever get your hands on one, even just to try it out, you'll immediately see why it's become the most popular Leatherman of all time. That's it for this one. I appreciate you watching. Let me know in the comments if you've ever owned a Wave, still carry one, or if it was your first multi-tool. I'd love to hear your story. And if you like this kind of video, please like and subscribe. And for more classic breakdown, stay tuned for future videos.